A few years ago, I went into my local cafe in San Diego, where I was living at the time, and I saw this written on the counter next to the bowl where you leave tips. If you are scared of change, give it to us. Now, this made me laugh because it was an amusing play on words, but also revealed a deep truth that many of us are worried, even scared of change. You see, in evolutionary and psychological terms, we're not naturally equipped to thrive during periods of extreme and intense change like we're going through now. We're creatures of habit, and we're hardwired to prefer predictability, stability, and certainty far more than ambiguity, instability, and uncertainty. Our brains want to protect us, and the amygdala interprets change as a threat, releasing hormones for fear, fight, or flight. And our brains have established many neural pathways to keep us safe, but these also limit us. And it's really good to establish new neural pathways that embrace change. Now, fortunately, we can learn to overcome our resistance to change and all the attendant fears or anxieties, and develop a far more valuable and useful attitude. And the first stage in this process is to accept change as inevitable, because it is. Everything's changing and it's going to speed up in the future. Just think about the last 2 years. We've been through the worst pandemic in 100 years. We've been in lockdown. We've had social distancing, wearing masks and working from home. We're witnessing arguably the worst war, certainly in Europe, since the Second World War right now. And we're facing unprecedented digital transformation and beginning to appreciate the extraordinary impact of artificial intelligence, which the CEO of Google said will have a greater impact than the invention of fire or electricity. Now, just think about that for a moment. You see, everybody in the world is facing turbulence and tremendous ambiguity and uncertainty. I'm fortunate in that I work with clients around the world, and I work with other psychologists and executive coaches who work with organizations in every continent. And I can absolutely assure you that every business owner and employee is being forced to change globally, because the economy is going through a seismic transformation, as is our society. And we all have to learn to be more agile and to adapt or be left behind. There really is no other choice but to embrace change. So the sooner we can develop a positive attitude, the better. Now, the next step, once we've accepted that change is inevitable, is to really think about and appreciate the benefits. In the words and title of Marshall Goldsmith's book, "What got you here won't get you there." Now, Marshall is an executive coach and works with CEOs of the world's biggest organizations. And the title of this book, "What Got You Here Won't Get You There," really highlights that the skills, knowledge, and performance of what got you to where you are today is not going to get you to where you want to be in the future. All of us need to learn new skills and knowledge, develop new habits, and perform at a different level than before. We can never rest on our laurels, and we need to reinvent ourselves. This means that we have to embrace continuous change and be highly flexible. And we must develop what Carol Dweck, the psychology professor at Stanford University, calls a growth mindset. And this has been one of the most valuable and effective concepts I've been using for about 20 years now, because a growth mindset is all about having a positive attitude of curiosity, openness, and acceptance towards change, learning, and our personal development, as opposed to a fixed mindset, which is about being stuck, being defensive, blaming our circumstances, and not wanting to change. Now, the good news is you are far more adaptable and flexible than you might realize. Just think for a moment of all the changes you've already been through to get you to where you are today. And you're here safe and sound. Recent advances in the study of neuroplasticity have shown that our brains are constantly changing, even in old age, in our 80s. Our brains are always forming new neural pathways and making new connections, and you can train your brain to be more flexible. You can handle any change coming your way. And when you look back over your life, I bet it's the changes you most dreaded that often triggered the greatest progress. Maybe going to that new school you were worried about led to a wider circle of friends. Maybe being fired in that job led to a big career change. It was the making of you. Maybe the serious illness you suffered led to lifestyle changes or add years to your life. So never see yourself as a victim of change, passively waiting for things to turn out badly. No, instead embrace it and reinvent yourself to not just adapt, but to take advantage of your new circumstances. So your practice for this week is to apply a growth mindset to everything you do and every change you face, both at work and at home. Think about a change that's happening to you right now. Write down your feelings about it in your journal. Be honest. Are you worried about what's going to happen? How is it challenging you? Then ask yourself these 3 questions. 1, how could this change be an opportunity and be good for me? 2, how can I embrace this change? 3, what would I do and how would I act if I believe this change was positive? You see, the point is we never know what lies ahead. We never know how things are going to turn out. And rather than fixating on what might go wrong or trying to keep things the way they are and maintain the status quo, why not instead focus on improving your attitude to change? As Leo Tolstoy said, everybody thinks of changing the world, but nobody thinks of changing themselves. So why not decide to change yourself? You will never look back, I promise.